one word that best describes me is impulsive. But beyond that, I'm kind. I've been told I'm loving. I have a quick, hair-triggered temper, according to my late father. But I forgive easily. I'm just an easy person, Jerry. No stress. I do have a love of my life. I'm not telling. That's for me to know and for you to wonder. But seriously speaking, the one that I consider the ultimate love of my life is no more. So I'd rather not call the name, but those who know, know. And I certainly know. Oh yes, I had a crush on Michael Jackson. Big time. When I was in uni, like I had his posters in my room. And I used to dream of marrying Michael Jackson. Crazy, isn't it? But yes, that's for the fantasy part of it. But in real life, yes, I had a crush on some people when I was in secondary school. That was when I used to crush. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give myself a 7 weird. 7 in the sense that there are some things normal people don't do, but I kind of do. I talk to myself. I dream a lot. Dream awake. Maybe that's why I'm a writer. I create whole lives for myself in my head, and those lives involve people I know. I dream up, I'm awake, and I'm thinking of it. I create scenarios. This happens, and all of that. So that is weird because people don't do that. At least I don't think people do that. And I also used to chew ice, and I was made to understand that was weird. I chew ice as in I'm in UK in the heart of winter and I'm chewing a cup of ice and I'm shaking, but I'm chewing it. There was a time I couldn't sleep if I hadn't chewed my ice. So in Nigeria, it was a big thing for me to always have ice, what with NEPA and all that. So I went to so many different ways to make sure I had my ice, including going to buy ice. That's how weird I can be. When I was in secondary school, I had crushes. But when I really knew what love, or when I now, with hindsight, I think I first fell in love with the love of my life. And I was 18. I was 18. And that love lasted well into my 20s. When I watch movies these days and I see all the serious kissing, I always ask myself, can I really do that if I don't feel anything? So in that sense, I've not had any scene like that. I've exchanged pecks with people and I didn't feel anything. But I don't know how I would feel if I had to really kiss somebody. I don't know. You'd find cucumber, you'd find lemon, you'd find lots of water, you'd find vodka, which I don't drink, by the way, someone gave it to me. You'd find wine, sometimes, off and on. You'd find Bailey's Irish cream. You'd find coconut. I'm a health freak like that. Life motivates me. When I used to be in the bank, it got to the point where I used to be actively miserable on Sundays, and I'd wake up very sad on Monday because I was going back to work. But since I started doing full-time production, I wake up with a bounce every Monday. It's like another week to go and be me. In difficult situations, I just pray until something happens. I don't know what it is about me, but I seem to attract difficult situations. They keep coming. When I get out of one, another one. But I've come to realize that it's not over until it's over. That's one. Two, these too shall pass. No matter how difficult it is, it's only for a period of time. So what I've learned to do is I just hang in there and thread water, praying and believing that the solution will come. And before I know it, I'm out of that situation and it's like, oh, and I thought, but really when I was a lot younger, that's the benefit of age. When I was a lot younger, there have been times that I'll be faced with some situations and I'll be like, maybe suicide is the only way out. Maybe I should just lie down and die and this thing goes away, But I've come to realize with age that no matter how bad it is, it will get better. So I just keep praying for strength to hang in there until it's over. And you don't even realize when it's over. Without a doubt, my greatest fault is my temper. I've lived my whole life battling my temper. My father always used to say, temper, daughter, temper, whenever he sees me boiling. And to God be the glory, I think I'm getting a hang of it. Because these days, the temper still comes. I feel it, but I don't act on it. I tend to just put the lid in and leave it. By the time I react, I no longer feel that heat of temper, so I'm more tempered in my reaction. I trust too easily. Even where I shouldn't trust, I trust. I think that's a bad quality and it's something I'm trying to work on too. I'm actually the kind of person who believes I can do anything. So I attempt anything unless I don't want to do that thing. I can cook, I can clean, I can wash, I can iron, I can run. I have medals for sports. Okay, I can't fly a plane. And I can't heal sick people. My greatest fear is fear. The fear of failure. I would do anything to avoid failing. A pilot or a doctor? Worry. I worry about life. I worry about doing the right things. I worry about going to heaven. I really want to go to heaven, and what will probably keep me from getting there is my temper. So I worry about that. Attention. I go places where I'm looking for stuff, I want to do something, and somebody recognizes me and just paves the way. They make it easy for you. Oh, see our star. You go to do your driver's license, they attend to you quickly. You go to the bank, somebody attends to you. You get to the airport. I've got to the airport one day and I was shocked to my bones. I pass there all the time, but I wasn't checked. That was the first time that was happening to me. And it wasn't like I just started acting or they just started seeing me, but whoever it was that was there that day. The next thing I knew, they took my box from where they stamped my passport and they were loading it. My box didn't go through immigration, which was scary for me. When I asked the guy, but I haven't done the custom, he said, oh, you are a celebrity. I was afraid because I thought about it. I could have been carrying a bomb. I could have been carrying anything. That was scary. But those are some of the things that happen. I think my first kiss was in secondary school. I was doing my A-levels. It was one of my crushes. And it was actually just a quick peck, nothing serious. But I walked on the moon for 2 weeks after that. I played that peck over and over in my head. It was years later that I discovered that that's actually not a kiss, that's just a peck. My first teenage crush, I think I was actually 13. I was in Form 3 or thereabouts. And he was one totally unattainable because he was very senior in school. The senior prefects in my school at that time, yes. And of course, that crush never knew that he was a crush. It was just me crushing by myself. And you know why I was crushing on him? He was so clean. The A-level students were white and white. And this particular senior's uniform was pristine. His white was always so white. It was always so well ironed, always tucked into his trousers. He always just looked so clean. And that was why I was crushing. And he was handsome too. If somebody is unkind to me, if somebody lies on me, if I lose somebody close to me, death makes me cry all the time. Death of anyone I know makes me cry. And when you hurt me, hurt could be betrayal. The only people who can actually make me cry are people who mean anything to me. If I hold you in high regard, if I like or love you, you can make me cry very easily. Just an unkind word will make me cry. My serious boyfriend was and still is the love of my life. We did actually. We did. I think it was Nuga 86 in Ibadan. And I was playing volleyball, and I remember, I think it was the evening before the finals. We finished the sports for the day, and our coach wanted us to train, and we did train. He was a basketballer, so they were training as well. And when they finished, as usual, he would walk me to the hostel where I was staying. And after we got there, we didn't want to, I can't remember what it was we were talking about, but the gist was sweet, so we wanted to finish the gist. So I dropped my stuff and I went back out with him. And we just sat on the pitch and we were gisting, and it started drizzling. And the rain started getting a bit heavy, so we wanted to run, or I wanted to run to the hostel. And as I was running, he pulled me back and said, "You're so dry, let's dance in the rain." And then he started singing. He was silly like that. And we danced a bit. And I said, "My hair is getting wet, my hair is getting wet." And then he took me back to the hostel. At that time, the romance of that moment didn't even sink in. It was years later. I think I was listening to I was watching a movie, and there was this couple dancing in the rain. I can't even remember, some Igbo movie. And it took me back to that day. And I pinched myself that this was such a romantic moment, and I didn't savor it. So that's one of my regrets. That would be telling. My imagination is really, really wild. It can be very wild. So I don't know which one to tell. Okay, just one of them. I'm at the top of Mount Everest with the love of my life. I don't know how we got there, but we climbed the mountain. And we planted the Nigerian flag right at the top of Mount Everest. How wild is that? I do, in my little daydreams, I create different scenarios, like I said, and I've come up with all sorts of things, and they always involve my favorite people. Truly, truly, I don't want to swap lives with anybody. Because I realized that we only see the glitz and the glamour of people's lives. We don't see pain, we don't see the terror, we don't see the fear they live under. There were times years ago when I would say, oh, especially when the late Diana Spencer was alive, and she had this really glamorous, larger-than-life image. And I used to daydream of being like her, marrying a prince. But after she died, and I read all the various stories about the pain that beautiful woman lived with for so long, I realized that I really don't want to be like anyone. I don't want to live anybody's life because you don't know the half of it. Oh, that is an easy one. A limitless credit card? Cool. Let me start spelling them out. The first thing I would do is build a home. I'm working with a cancer NGO, and one of our goals is to put a cancer center in each of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. We're trying to get a machine, a chemo machine, because right now there's only one chemo machine working in Nigeria, I hear, and it's in a private hospital and it's overburdened, so it's always breaking down. People I know go out of Nigeria to do radiotherapy after they've done chemo here. Okay, it's a radiotherapy machine, not chemo. They have to go out of Nigeria to do it because we don't have functional ones here. So our goal is to put a radiotherapy machine in our cancer center, at least one to start with. It costs millions and millions and millions. So it looks like a tall dream. So if I had a limitless credit card, the first thing I'd do is build the Neola Cancer Care Center in Lagos to start with, equip it with a chemo machine, a radio machine. That's the first thing I'd do. After that, once that is done, I'd like to build a home for autistic children, a place where they and their parents, not for them to stay, because I realize that those children thrive better when they're with people they love. But in Nigeria, we really do not have, there are a few places I know, but what I had discussed with a friend of mine was to put a center here in Lagos where parents of autistic children can get advice right from when those children are born, because early intervention actually means that they can live meaningful lives. You have autistic people holding down jobs outside Nigeria because intervention came early. So that's another of my dreams, to put that center, put people who would work with these children from as early as 6 months so they can live meaningful lives and be able to fend for themselves. That's another one. And then the third goal, this is for me. I'd like to travel the world with someone I love. Go to all those strange, faraway places that people don't get to go all the time. Spend a week at a time at each of those places. Just us two, not carry much luggage. We're not doing any shopping. We just watch the stars in all those countries. The final dream is someday I want to own a house. Just a little house on the shores of a beach somewhere. So that when I'm in my house at night, I open the windows, I can hear the waves. I can smell the sea breeze. That's my dream. It happens. It does. With the love of my life, it was love at first sight. You see somebody and your heart literally stops. You don't know what it is. You've watched Godfather, right? And you've heard about the thunderbolt. I totally understand that, because it's like a thunderbolt just hit you. You stop in your tracks. It doesn't matter what the person looks like. It's not about looks. It's not about any one thing. It's a combination of everything. And it's chemistry. So I totally believe in it because it happened to me. All the time. Some things may happen and you remember somebody. You hear a particular music, you remember somebody. You go someplace and you remember somebody. Some of those memories may be good and some may be bad. But yes, I remember. It was the best, totally the best time of my life. Now I regret the fact that I didn't literally enjoy it as much as I do in retrospect, because I was so busy wanting to grow up. I was so busy wanting to not have to listen to the bell for siesta, bell for prep. You know, I was counting when I would not have to do all of those things. But after it was over, I just realized that that was the best time of my life. And most of the best friends I have today are friends I made in that period of my life. I was a good student. I did my homework. I always had good grades. I won prizes at prize giving day. So yes, I was a good student. I was pretty obedient. I mean, I had to do a few detentions here and there, but very few. Maybe for talking after lights out or one of those silly things. Not going to the dining hall when you're supposed to be going, taking food out of the dining hall. But I wasn't a disobedient child at all. I was too scared of punishment to be effectively disobedient. The best one I have is when I have a good book, a long, cold drink, and nobody to trouble me. They always remember me for running. Every time one or the other of them comment on my posts or something, they tend to remember the fact that I was very good in athletics and I was always running and winning prizes. And they also, most of them say they are not surprised that I'm an actress because they remember me from secondary school acting in all those school plays. In fact, somebody said it to me on Saturday because we had our alumni sports day, and we did all of the sports we did in secondary school. We wore our house colors, and somebody said to me while a couple of them and I were chatting, one of the girls was saying to one of the boys that I'm totally not, the guy said to her, you know, Lillian is one of our stars here because she came from abroad. He too came from abroad, but he said that, and she said, I know, of course, and I'm totally not surprised because this is the Lillian we knew back then. So I said to myself, okay, so they are not surprised. Like I said, most of the best friends I have now are my secondary school classmates. I can name them. We are still totally in touch. A group of us hung out in Las Vegas 3 years ago, and the same group of us went on a cruise 2 years ago, and we are planning a trip to Toronto next year. We are adding more people from our group who didn't come with us then. So we hang out all the time. Whenever any of them come into Nigeria, we meet, we go for lunch. I think the best memory I have of my childhood is waking up on a Christmas morning to music. My father was big on music, all the Don Williams, Jim Reeves, all that kind of music. He had a lot of it and he loved it. I think my love for music, even though I can't sing a note, came from my father. He had a beautiful voice too. So there was this Christmas morning. I was in secondary school then, but we were on holiday. I woke up and I heard music. And I went to the living room and I saw my parents waltzing. They didn't know anybody was there. They were just waltzing, having fun. I've never forgotten that memory. And my parents' relationship made me believe so much in love. They were so close that when my father died, we thought we were going to lose my mom. And it's been 6 years, but she hasn't recovered. She's not the mom we knew. I was actually in secondary school. And what made it the worst is that I still don't know what I actually did. There were this group of senior girls. I still remember every single one of them. And I won't call their names because we're still in touch. We see ourselves at some of these alumni things. And every time I see some of them, my mind just races back to that day. I don't know what it was they said we did, but it was myself and another of my classmates. And they took us upstairs. My house was downstairs. They took us upstairs to National House because some of them were in National House. And they made both of us kneel down and they were berating us. I can't even remember what they were asking us. And whenever, all I remember is whenever because I didn't know what answer they expected, I would say perhaps. And they kept saying perhaps. Those women were so horrible. Now that I think about it, I mean, I've had years to think about it and I've discussed it with a couple of these, my close friends from the same class. And our conclusion was that they were jealous. I don't know, maybe one of their classmates, they felt one of their classmates had an eye on us. I don't know what it is, but that's the only explanation I can give because I don't know why they punished us. I remember myself and that girl, we cried and cried. I don't know if she remembers, but I'm going to ask her one of these days. We cried and cried and they kept punishing us and they wouldn't tell us what we did. You know, so each time I see them and they're making nice, I'm like, you wicked witch. And I've documented them in my new book. So when they read that book, when that book comes out, you wicked witches, watch out. I'm sure you will all see yourselves in that book and you will remember. I was a tomboy, so I know I did a few naughty things, but I knew that what my mom used to punish me for most was for burning food. She had us start cooking when we were pretty early. She would make us do things like boil meat or cook beans. And when it was my turn to cook beans, because beans always took forever to get done, at least that's how it seemed when I was a kid, I'd put it on the fire and I'd start reading one of my novels and the beans would burn. Every day I cook, the food will burn and I'd get punished. So that's what I remember most. That I was so naughty that I would never stop reading. Even after I get punished for it, the next day I'm cooking, I would still carry book and the food will still burn. You know, and there was once the meat burnt. I was determined not to be punished that day. So I brought out all the meat, washed all the burnt part away, put new water, put new spices, and started cooking it again, thinking I was very smart. Of course, all my mom had to do was taste it and she knew that the thing burnt. So I didn't escape, I still got punished. I remember one naughty thing I did. My dad used to smoke when I was a child. And there was this day, there was nobody around. And my brother and I can't remember if it was my two brothers or just one, we didn't take the stubs, we tried to roll paper just to imitate the cigarettes and we're puffing, pretending we're smoking. And I know that we got caught. We got caught that day. That was one naughty thing and my mom was so upset. But shortly after that, my father quit smoking, so there was now no excuse. At home, there's my twin sister and I. We formed a special language. We created our own language. And in that language, we pretended to be Chinese people and created this funny language. We had a name for different people, including ourselves. Her name was Doom. My name was Leg. And we used to call our mother Wanko. And we still use those names today. My twin sister would generally call me Leg if she wants to talk to me. And I would call her Doom. If I call her on the phone now, most probably she would say, hello, Leg. So that nickname stuck, but it's just both of us that use it. In secondary school, my friends call me Lan Mary. The Lan is from Lillian, and Mary was my baptismal name. So they joined the two, and my really close friends in secondary school would call me Lan Mary. I had two really close friends, and we're still very close today. One of them, everybody calls my sister, because we found out that my mom and her father are actually from the same village. Her name is Neka. She lives in America now. We're still very close. We chat all the time. We see all the time. My second friend, who was also very close to me, was Julie. Julie was also in my secondary school. She is in Lagos, and we're still very close. And they're sweet girls. Neka and I eventually went to UNILAG, so virtually my whole growing up was with her. Went through secondary school and went through university, both of us. And we served together. Both of us served again in Shell. So it's like she's been a part of my life all along. She's my sister, she's my friend. I read a lot of those M&B novels. So I fashioned my life around those. You meet your prince, you have a perfect life, and you just live happily ever after. But the reality isn't quite like that. But it hasn't been bad. It hasn't been.